And just like that, we're back. Section 400, Matt, Jack, and Brian, bringing you the first episode, the first podcast, as the Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Look, I'm not going to sit here and get screaming and fighting and getting all fired up. There's no reason to do it. I did it last week. This is the victory lap. This is the parade of the podcast. The Philadelphia Eagles did everything that I said would happen. To some extent. I know I didn't predict it perfectly, but the Kansas City Chiefs haven't seen a team like that before. And it showed. And it showed in a big way. I mean, that was belt to ass, bang, ass kicking by the Philadelphia Eagles. They get the job done, and that was the biggest part. I mean, just an unbelievable game from all aspects. To take you guys through the timeline, I've gotten very little sleep, a lot of celebration, had to go to work this morning. I am exhausted right now. So that plays into me not getting all fired up. But the Eagles win it all. Super Bowl champs. They got it done. The dynasty starts now, and they end the Chiefs' kingdom. I know everybody will say Mahomes will be back, this, that, and the third. The Eagles' dynasty is here, Brian.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'll go. We'll have the conversation next winter about a dynasty, but I am willing to admit when I'm terribly wrong about something. And we've had our debates about Jalen Hurts. If you're watching on the YouTube, I have finally admitted he is in my top 5 of quarterbacks. Here's a list for you. Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, the 2 quarterbacks that beat Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl.
Wow. How do you do, Brian?
Yeah.
Look, that's a very specific list, but it is a very elite list. I will give Jalen Hurts his flowers here. There's no doubt about it. He is a top 5 quarterback in this league right now.
Yeah. Dude, he played I know he had the interception, and I took the dig at Matt in our group chat because he said, who threw that ball after the Dotson?
After the beautiful Dotson pass.
Then I said, who threw that ball after the pick? But that was his only mistake. He played a perfect game besides that. And in his 2 Super Bowls against the Chiefs, 667 yards, 7 total touchdowns, a 73% completion rate, and the Eagles have put up 75 points in those 2 Super Bowls against Steve Spagnuolo and the great Chiefs defense.
Yeah, I mean, dude, people are saying Spags this, Spags that, Mahomes this, Mahomes that, Andy Reid, the whole thing, dude. And it was just such a decisive victory by the Eagles. Every aspect of the game was played to perfection. The defense dialed it up. The offense dialed it up. What I loved about Jalen Hurts in this game is that the Chiefs took Saquon Barkley out of it. They loaded the box, took him out of the game. Saquon had nothing, and they dared Jalen Hurts to beat them with his arm. And that's exactly what he did. Sure, there were plays where he ran the ball. There were plays where, he made the mistake with the interception. But Hurts pretty much won them that game. It wasn't Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley helped them get there. But there's a reason why Hurts is the MVP. He won them that football game. And it just fuels more to my fire of Jalen Hurts is an elite level talent, elite level quarterback in this football league. And I understand there's other factors on the great team. He has the players around him. But if they don't have Jalen Hurts playing in that football game yesterday, it's probably a different outcome.
Yeah, it's exactly what I thought the Chiefs would do. They took away Saquon and they made Jalen Hurts beat him. And where it was wrong was I said, if they make Jalen Hurts beat him, he's not going to beat him. But and they not only beat him, but he beat him significantly. Like you said, belt to ass. It was never close.
It was never just close.
A complete beatdown.
And that's exactly what I said too, Brian. I did not expect Jalen Hurts to be able to hold up against this Chiefs defense, and he diced them up. I mean, it does help when you're able to get one-on-one matchups. I'm not trying to take anything away from Jalen Hurts. Don't come at me, Matt, please. But
Dude, my chest's already out. They already won. Say whatever you want.
he was able to get the one-on-one matchups with AJ Brown, with Devonta Smith deep downfield, with Dotson for the first touchdown. I mean, or almost first touchdown. I keep forgetting that got called back and Hurts pushed it in. But beautiful one-on-one coverages. I mean, that's what you want to see as a quarterback. He laid it in there perfectly numerous times, and he really impressed. He really did.
It's just crazy because like if you showed us this before the game and said Saquon had 25 yards for 50 or 25 carries for 57 yards and Patrick Mahomes threw for 3 touchdowns, we'd probably be saying the Chiefs won the football game.
Right.
And that just was not even close to the case.
I don't know if there's anything more garbage time than those Mahomes touchdowns.
Oh yeah, the final score was 40-22, but it was not even remotely that close, and that's not even a close score.
Yeah,
that's actually where I wanted to start, like on a personal note with this game. Like I finally, Brian, we've argued about this all season about what does garbage time actually mean? We started off by saying, it doesn't count for nothing. These guys are still getting paid to go out there, this, that. This is a Super Bowl especially. There's no such thing as garbage time there. But, what are those stats and touchdowns worth when the game is already blown out of proportion? Like, they really don't mean anything. But how I've really come to see this is like what happens early in that game just weighs in more. Everything that happens later just matters less. So you really have to focus on like the first half. And quite honestly, it took to the end of the first half, especially with the Mahomes interception late in the second quarter. Right before halftime, the Eagles were able to put on some extra points. Like that first half was the game. The second half was gravy, man. It was gravy.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the recording. I was sitting there just knowing like Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. Even when it got to like 17, they still were getting the ball back, and then they got the kick out of halftime. So you're like, okay, they can do the classic Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, score the touchdown, get it back, score another touchdown, game on. And then Mahomes throws another interception. And it's like, well, this is over. Just bring out Kendrick, and then I'll finish up this drinking game and then put on something else. The calendar is flipped to 2025, and that means one thing. The sports action is heating up. And the best place to go to get tickets to playoff football, meaningful basketball games, and maybe some baseball soon is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Views from Section 400 podcast. Whether you're going to watch some Auburn Tigers play at Neville Arena, best team in college basketball, if you want to see the Birds probably choke in the playoffs at the Link, or maybe you want to buy some early spring training tickets for the spring, SeatGeek is the best place to go. Their one-of-a-kind platform makes finding the best deals easy. Use our code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout. You get $20 off your first purchase. That's a free beer and maybe some crab fries, maybe a hot dog on us. It's a great deal. Use our code. SeatGeek, your best night ever is waiting.
Yeah, dude, it was over, and it was over quick. I had PTSD from the 2022 game when they blew the 10-point lead, and yeah, they just never let the foot off the gas. We as much as I want to give Hurts his credit, and it's so rightfully deserved, and just I'd love to see Hurts finally getting, I guess, respect, or I hope he's getting respect. At least so far, you guys have shown it. So I hope the rest of the world and the NFL can see that. But, the defense deserves a lot of credit. Patrick Mahomes had zero chance in that football game. He took a snap, and there was pressure in his face. Josh Sweat played an unbelievable game. Jalen Carter, we already know the monster that he is. He played unbelievable. And just the defense in general, Cooper DeJean, like Quinyon Mitchell is a lockdown stud, all-pro style type cornerback. And just this defense is loaded, and they're so young. What are they, the third youngest team in football, fourth youngest? Like, Jalen Hurts is 26. We talk about Mahomes being 29. Hurts is 26. So they're a very young team. They're only going to get better. I understand they can't sign and re-sign everybody, but this team's going to be good. I think good for a while. The dynasty, I think, is just beginning. They have the X factors. They now have been there, done that. And look, all around, the Eagles are in a prime position to just keep going and going and going and maybe creating this new dynasty. And what I like the most is after 22, the Eagles were gutted of their offensive defensive coordinator, Gannon as a DC, Shane Steichen as the offensive coordinator. Sure, they might lose Kellen Moore, but I think this offense is so good that just bring someone competent in, and he should be able to have this offense operate well. On the defensive side of the ball, you have a guy like Vic Fangio, who's going to be here for a little while. He said he wants to end his career here in Philly. He's in his mid 60s. Is that guy really going to want to go head coach again? He's already said he doesn't want to. So the defensive coordinator position, I think, is shored up for the next 5 or so years, which is so important because every time Nick Sirianni has a good year, he gets stripped of his coordinators, which we've seen it can be a shake. So they're going to need a new offensive coordinator. That's fine. But the fact that you're not only keeping this group together or most of this group together on defense, you're keeping Vic Fangio there, who is such a glue guy, glue coach, glue piece to keep this team together, in the immediate future and hopefully somewhat long term.
Yeah.
You want to go?
I know that was a lot right there.
No, yeah, a lot was said there. I just wanted to say something real quick. You started that off talking a lot about like Kellen Moore and obviously Vic Fangio at the end there, but I have to say I was so impressed with the Eagles coaching in this game. If you told me going into this game that the Eagles were going to outcoach the Kansas City Chiefs, I was going to call you absolutely crazy, but I think that's exactly what we saw. I mean, Vic Fangio called a damn near perfect game. I thought the way he attacked Mahomes and pressured him was something that we haven't seen enough of. Mahomes people call him the magician. He escapes the pocket, steps up, gets out. The way Vic Fangio called that D line, the way he coordinated it was impressive. Linebackers, the defensive backs were in the right positions to make plays. I thought he did a fantastic job. And then also, we talk about Saquon getting 25 carries and only rushing for 70-something yards, as Brian said earlier. But give Kellen Moore a lot of credit for that. Even though Saquon wasn't busting out these long runs, I thought that continuously running it with him, with no offense to anybody else, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, anybody, continuously trying to hand it off to your best player and making the Chiefs respect that and continuously load the box. That's why Devonta Smith was open one-on-one coverage for a 50-yard bomb late in the third quarter. You know what I mean? Because Kellen Moore said, I don't care if Saquon's not busting these. We're going to keep running it. We're going to keep making the Chiefs load the box. And I was just so impressed with the Eagles coaching in this game.
The crazy part about taking away Saquon too, and I do have some crazy stats with Mahomes of just what they were able to do to him, but even with taking away Saquon, the Chiefs linebackers like Nick Bolton and a lot of them guys, they were the best part of the Chiefs. They made a lot of great tackles on Saquon on the open field. This game could have been even more out of hand than it was if they didn't have to do that. So even them taking away Saquon Barkley was still, they put their guys in position where they had to make plays. It wasn't like they were completely dominating the line of scrimmage. It was the exact opposite on both sides. It was a bloodbath. If you were a Kansas City fan, if you were a Kansas City coach or player, it was a bloodbath. And I mean, Patrick Mahomes sacked 6 times, most in his career, playoffs or regular season. He had 17 passing yards in the first quarter. They had 14 yards on their first 5 drives. It's the fewest they've had ever with Patrick Mahomes. He became the first QB ever to take consecutive sacks before throwing a pick 6 in the span of 3 plays. For the first time in his career, he threw 2 interceptions in the first half of a playoff game. And he became the second quarterback in Super Bowl history to throw an interception on consecutive pass attempts. I mean, that's not what Patrick Mahomes does, and the Eagles made Patrick Mahomes look like Kenny Pickett?
Dude, no, look like Daniel Jones.
Real quick,
I didn't want to bring up Daniel Jones.
Shout out Kenny Pickett for throwing a pass in this game and cashing my over 2.5 people to throw the football plus 140.
Yeah, that was a weird way how that one got done. So
I love
props to you, Jack, for getting that one right. And didn't happen the way you usually think it would happen, but it got it done. A cash is a cash.
I gotta say, I really thought for sure like they were gonna let Saquon Barkley throw the ball one time, but it still cashed.
It looked like
So
they ran a toss that may have been like a pass option for Saquon at one point, and then he just ate it. But I think they drew up one thing. But even like Andy Reid, there was no kind of the first play of the game, they ran like a nice misdirection and then hit Juju on a slant. After that, there was no creative plays that you're used to seeing the Chiefs. They couldn't get the ball to
they just got
Kelsey.
shut down.
They couldn't get the ball to Kelsey until the second half.
They
It
didn't
was
Yeah, I
have,
don't.
completely taken away.
they didn't have time to do anything, man. I mean,
They
the
got
Eagles the
kind of
Eagles won
smacked in
the
the
trenches.
face. They got smacked in the face and stunned, and it was just too much to recover from. But Brian, I want to go back to what you were saying about Mahomes just not looking like Mahomes. This was the biggest deficit of his entire career, 34 to nothing. I mean, that shows you something for a guy who's been around for as long as he's been around, winning all these Super Bowls. That's like you don't expect that in the Super Bowl out of this guy to go to be losing by the most in his career ever. So I thought that was interesting and a total dominating stat, which I don't know where it's ever happened or I can't imagine it's happened in the Super Bowl. And at one point in the game, the Eagles had 10 first downs to the Chiefs' 10 plays.
Yep.
10 offensive plays. So, I mean, that is a total domination right there. And the Eagles played the perfect game. They played the perfect game. They really did on both sides of the ball, every aspect, limited the turnovers. And that's how you win these big games is when everybody comes together, the coaching, the players, everything. So I think the Eagles are only looking to go up from here and hopefully get another Super Bowl or hopefully two more. But we kind of touched on what went wrong for the Chiefs. I think it was just kind of an overmatch. I touched on it in the live show. I touched on it last week. Player for player, roster for roster, going into the game, other than the quarterback, I think it's the Eagles have the better team.
No doubt.
And now looking at it, Hurts played better than Mahomes did in that particular game. So you couldn't even say that, the Chiefs had the better quarterback in that particular game. Again, I know the sample size is small over one game and this whole career, but I think it would really, it's not like, can you even say the Chiefs were unprepared? I just think they were overmatched.
Yeah, they
Well,
were.
I mean, we're definitely all on the same page where the Eagles, on paper, better roster, top down. I mean, all three phases, they looked like the better team on paper, and then they showed it on the field. But I definitely reserve the thought, as I said earlier, that the Kansas City coaching and the fact that they've won 18 straight, one possession games, like this could be that can obviously be the difference in a tough Super Bowl matchup, but the Eagles didn't let that be close. And I think a lot of people were predicting that that was going to be the recipe for a dub, and that's exactly what they did from the get go. They took care of business, and yeah, no, I mean, Brian, what did you have for us?
I mean, our buddy Brett, big Eagles fans, texted this in the first half, and we don't really. I mean, we haven't touched on the refs because they didn't really have a chance to make a big impact. Although that AJ Brown go route early in the game was not a flag, and then
That
they had
was
a couple.
ridiculous.
They had a couple
That
bad
was
calls against the
ridiculous.
Chiefs too, but it was
For the most part, the flags were in the pockets. I mean,
yeah,
there just wasn't any chance for them to even do anything.
yes, yeah. The Eagles made it too big to rig, but we talk about Mahomes now, and we've been talking about Mahomes is like, and the Chiefs, like you said, Jack, is 18 in a row, one possession games. Like, we don't care if the talent's not there. Like it was this year, it wasn't there, but they just kept finding ways to win. And we kept saying Patrick Mahomes will find a way to win. This is now the second time they've gone into a Super Bowl as the inferior team and gotten blitzed. It happened against Brady and the Bucks, and now it's happened against the Eagles. So I don't think we can really say that anymore. Like the Chiefs are gonna have to build a really good team and can't just rely on Patrick Mahomes to be throwing to 40-year-old wide receivers, a washed up Taylor Swift boyfriend, and have Samaje Perine in the backfield. It's
Yeah.
not going to work. I mean, Patrick Mahomes now has a negative 23 point differential in Super Bowls. He's 3-2 with a minus 23 point differential because he got blown out twice.
And I'm glad you bring that up because maybe in the Mahomes is still young. Later down the line, we can revisit this. But I think the GOAT debate is over. Like this is Brady who will be the guy for the foreseeable future, and I think for right now this debate is over. Everybody opened it up. and said, Mahomes is going to get there. He's going to be better than Brady. He's unbeatable. He's going to get the three-peat. And if we're just looking at it, you just said it, Brian. Mahomes 3-2 in the Super Bowl, and these are all Super Bowl stats. Brady 7-3. Mahomes 3 MVPs to Brady's 5. Here's the interesting stat: Mahomes set 10 pass TDs to 7 interceptions in all his Super Bowls. Brady 21-6. So that's pretty mediocre for Pat Mahomes, if you ask me. And for right now, and definitely the foreseeable future, this debate is over. It's Brady.
Yeah, after the Super Bowl loss, it's very quick and easy to say that, and I will agree with that. Don't get me wrong, but can we put that on the back burner for a sec? Brian, I'm sorry, I'm having a blank right now, but what were you just talking about? Because I needed to fucking jump on you for that.
That the Chiefs team just wasn't that great this year.
Oh, listen, dude. The team in general, hasn't been phenomenal. They did. Tell me what the difference between last year's team and this year's team was. Isaiah Pacheco?
Healthy Pacheco, healthy and active L'Jarius Sneed. Those are two big pieces.
A better contributing
a younger
Travis Kelce.
Regardless of L'Jarius Sneed, though, you could argue that this defense was better than last year's.
You could make that. I guess I'm mainly saying on the offensive side of the ball, the line was not better. The receivers were not better.
That's the thing that I want to point out. The big comparison that I drew from this Super Bowl to the Bucs Super Bowl when Mahomes lost to Brady is the offensive line of the Chiefs versus the defensive line of the Bucs and now the Eagles. Every single play, the dude was getting blitzed or not even just blitzed, but pressured. He was on his ass the entire game, getting shoved over. I mean, we saw in that Bucs Super Bowl, I don't know if you guys remember some of those plays, but Mahomes is diving 90 degrees parallel with the ground, or I guess 180, excuse me.
Should have been touchdown. I forget.
Should have been touchdown that he's tucking out there. I mean, incredible plays. He wasn't able to make those today. Yesterday, he looked horrible, but that was the big thing for me. It's the offensive line. He's shown to be able to do it with less than superior weapons. He's shown to do it with less than superior defenses, but that offensive line has to be elite for him.
Yeah, it's also it's the line. You can't have zero ability to run the ball. That's just going to make it even worse when the pass rush is coming. And then when you're breaking down, if you have I love Justin Watson. I bet on him to score the first touchdown. But when you have Justin Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, who Pacheco is definitely rushed back from injury. Hollywood Brown may have been rushed back too. He has not looked good. They just couldn't get open. And that's also Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson just making plays. But you got to get some kind of help for Mahomes because now we know he's not unbeatable. There's ways to beat Patrick Mahomes, especially in the Super Bowl, and there's ways to blow him out in the Super Bowl, and the Eagles and the Bucs have both done that.
And bringing this back to Matt, that's the difference between Brady and Mahomes. Brady found a way regardless of what was there.
This guy was throwing to Chris Hogan, who was a former college lacrosse guy.
Yeah.
What you know about Chris Hogan?
I know all about him. He almost beat us since 2017. But he didn't.
And it just to wrap up the kind of goat. I think the door was wide open for.
It was wide open. I think
because he'd have the three-peat, and now it's still open, but it's more shut than open.
Yeah, it definitely didn't get slammed closed, but I think it got closed in a big way. I mean, his Super Bowl stats are not spectacular by any stretch of the imagination. One more interception than Brady and 11 less passing touchdowns. So, I guess there's the room, but go ahead, Jack.
No, but the big kicker is I said this after the Bucs Chiefs Super Bowl where Brady just straight up beat Mahomes. I mean, and don't get me wrong, Brady did have the better team all around. I'll give him that, but I said Mahomes is going to have to blow Brady's stats out of the water and make it not comparable to actually just take that title. because Brady does have the head-to-head, I think this loss really screwed that up for Patrick Mahomes.
It did. It says what Brian just said about just, closing the door more than it was wide open. And it just got, I don't know how to put this into like the right way to say it, but it got closed, borderline closed.
I think it was creaked open, and now it's bolted shut.
No, yeah. If he got the three-peat, then maybe it's wide open.
Yeah, listen, it's easy for revisionist history here. We have to remember this guy has been to the AFC Championship in every year he's played. So he's going to have the opportunities for the rest of his career, probably to surpass Brady. It's just, can they figure out how to win these Super Bowls? Because 3-2, it's good. It's a winning record, but if you get
Brady.
to five more,
we're not saying good, dude. We're saying we're comparing it to the GOAT. I mean, people were like, you're blinded because of how demolished Mahomes and the Chiefs got last night. Like, dude, going into this game, like, it was like Mahomes is better than Brady talk. Like, I don't think you understand. People were saying that. People were already on, like, locking Mahomes up as, like, gonna get there.
Well, it'd be hard to argue against a three-peat.
It would be. It would be very hard to argue against a three-peat. Mahomes is young enough in his career where, like, you would think if he plays the same amount of time that Brady does, he would be able to surpass him. But I just still think that people will always, like, this is something we never really got with LeBron and MJ, bro. But we're going to be able to see the fact that Brady straight up beat Mahomes whenever we want to come back to this argument at the end of Mahomes' career.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. So, for right now, again, this can all change because he's so young. But Brady is my GOAT, and the door is shut on Mahomes. And until further notice, I don't need to hear this next year. I don't need to hear this in 2 years. I don't need whatever. Until further notice, way down the line, Brady will stay there as the top dog.
And I like that you pointed out. We're comparing him to Tom Brady. This isn't like all the Chiefs fans listening. We're not saying Mahomes is bad. He's getting compared to there's Tom Brady and there's MJ as like the sports goats, and he's getting compared to one of those. So it's not like we're saying he's a bad quarterback.
I'm just shitting on the people who like were already marking Mahomes better like as the GOAT.
Yeah.
And again, that three-peat would have been tough. You're right. You're absolutely right. But until further notice, that door is slammed shut.
Yeah, until further notice, there's only one guy with 7 rings on his finger.
Right.
Also, I guess Wayne Gretzky's on that Mount Rushmore too. I don't want to get hockey fans annoyed.
I mean, there's the four major.
Are we talking football or not?
Well, there's the 4 major sports,
I
right?
said MJ and Brady.
It's Brady of the NFL. It's MJ of NBA. LeBron's there as well. So I know that's a whole different debate you can have in yourself, but you get the point. The NHL is Gretzky, Ovechkin chasing him down with the goals, but it'll probably always be Gretzky just because of the points per game, of the assists and the goals, and he's just an unbelievable player. But who cranks out the last spot in the MLB? And I don't, Shohei Ohtani eventually.
Yeah, probably will be if the Dodgers keep deferring money and loading up that team. I give it to Bonds, but the whole steroid era, it's just.
I'm a big Bonds guy too. I loved Barry Bonds. I think he did a little dirty. He was doing dirty shit as well, but I was a big Bonds guy, dude. I loved his game. He was a beast.
Yeah,
I don't want to get down that rabbit hole.
Maybe we'll have to do a 4-400 coming up here with the baseball Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I think so. This baseball season right around the corner will heat it up. But it is the final football show. Let's try and enjoy it. While we can, we're going to have, I guess, the XFL or the UFL, whatever they got going on. That might be coming up for some spring football. You'll have all the college spring games, and then you'll have some maybe Canadian Football League.
Yeah, I forget when the Grey Cup gets played, but I think it's coming up too. And then, at the Super Bowl party, I was talking with a bunch of my buddies, and I think we're going to try to go to some DC Defenders games this spring. So I'll get some content of the beer snakes going out there.
Is there only 4 teams in that
Or-
league?
No,
I think there's
more
8
than 4.
because
There's
they
8.
merged the XFL and the USFL merged to create the UFL, and
If
that's what
they
it
have,
is.
if they have a Birmingham team and a DC team, there's definitely more than 4 teams.
Yeah, they took away the Philly team. It was the Philadelphia Stars, and they made the championship game, lost in the championship, and then merged leagues, and Philly doesn't have a team anymore, which is all ridiculous in itself. And again, not to go in a rabbit hole, but like these teams played at one central location due to just not having enough money to get guys all over the country to play this league out. So it wasn't really a Philly team. They all played in Birmingham. I don't think the Philly Stars ever touched foot in Philadelphia, which is wild.
Yeah, it's hard to create a fan base. Philly, I feel like it'd just be hard to. Although the
We would
Soul,
have people would have got fired up for the Philadelphia Stars if they had somewhere to play and
yeah,
if they
Well,
threw him in
City.
the Union Stadium though, like Union plays all the way down in Chester, which is
yeah, not a
it's a
great
it's a
spot.
bit off. Or you've been there, Brian. It's a bit
Yep.
off. It's off of the city itself, so not a good place to go. But the Eagles won. We'll have the parade Friday. I don't know who's going from all the Eagle fan, but we'll probably get some kind of content going there. I'm hoping Will goes so I can link up with him and we can get some parade content. I think that's on Friday as well, so
That's
that'll be.
a Valentine's Day parade in the city of brotherly love.
Oh
With
yeah, it's the whole 9 yards. The spectacle is what they call that. But all right, and now as I said, we will jump into our favorite NFL moments of the year, 2024-25 season. I guess we can kind of structure this one like we do the winners and losers. But Brian, I guess give us a moment or give us a couple moments, and we'll give you some reaction here, man.
yeah, well, my football season this year was kind of that old Facebook meme of why are you not smiling? And the guy responds, nothing to smile about in my life. It wasn't a good football season for me, but there were some fun moments, including seeing Jack for week 1 where I couldn't watch football. And we did see Auburn lose a football game, but it's always fun to go down there and see the people. And we recorded a show a little bit hungover, a little bit, a little bit tired, and not great quality, but we did it. Maybe I'll link that.
That was, I think that's, I could be wrong. Fact check me here. I think that's one of 2 in-person podcasts we've done. And it was probably one of the worst podcasts we've done.
Yeah, it wasn't fun for us, so I can't imagine it was fun for the people to listen to. But
No.
but
I
we
mean,
made it through.
to be fair, we were coming fresh off an Auburn loss to Cal at home. I mean, we knew our college football season was down the dumpster, and yeah, I mean, other than that, you didn't even get to watch football week 1, so I had to basically sit there and provide everything I watched on Red Zone the past like 6 hours beforehand, and it just wasn't happening.
No, but we gutted it out, and I mean that's what you got to do up in the nosebleeds sometimes. But honestly, that was probably my favorite moment, and it wasn't even a good moment. But Jaden Daniels' entire season, that was fun for me to watch, especially
Yeah.
after getting dragged for saying he's so good, and especially because his performance against the Eagles, which I believe was the last game the Eagles lost this year, helped
Yeah, it
me
was.
beat Matt in the losers bracket of our fantasy league. So I'll go with that as
Yes,
my favorite.
it did.
Yeah, look, Jaden
Jack, some
Daniels.
stuff for you, dude.
Well, real quick, Jaden Daniels for the second year in a row now has been your greatest take of the football season. Heisman,
I'm not giving him
and
LSU.
he called Heisman from the get go, and now here he is in year 2 of Jaden Daniels calling Offensive Rookie of the Year. I doubted that. I sure as shit would have doubted, excuse my French, would have doubted a NFC championship game. So I got to give you a lot of credit for Jaden Daniels this season.
Yeah, I
And
don't
last.
know if I can continue climbing the ladder because the next stop would be either MVP or Super Bowl next year. But we'll see how we're feeling in the previews in August.
Let's
The
see what
Giants are
free
gonna
agency looks like.
well, the Giants are gonna draft Shador Sanders, and it's gonna be 2.0 all over again.
I want Cam Ward.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, draft talk coming up soon here. But Jack, what you got any favorite moments of the 24-25 season, man, as we do our final football segment of the year pertaining, I guess, to this season, but recap of the game, the whole nine. I mean, this is it, boys.
Well, this is definitely not going to be my last comment on the NFL football season as it comes to a close here. But I will say my favorite part of the year, and I'm sorry I wasn't as nostalgic as you, Brian, but my favorite part of the year was Brian Thomas Jr. And it's a clear one, but just to recap his stats for you guys, he led all rookies in receiving yards, in receiving touchdowns, despite having to deal with, Trevor Lawrence getting hurt, not playing well, and then playing kind of well, and then getting hurt. Mac Jones filling in. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. showed us that he's going to be an elite receiver in this year in this league for years to come. Um, he was also number 3 in the entire league in receiving yards. He was number 5 in the entire league in receiving touchdowns, tied with Justin Jefferson. It's pretty good company, my guy. So I'm really excited for him. And then an honorable mention to the saga that happened about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. Trent Baalke getting fired and Liam Cohen sort of making that happen and then coming into the fold. I've been obviously keeping up with the new hires. We have a DC, we have an OC. I've been, listening into the interviews onto the Jaguar social media, be it the clips all over social media, Twitter, YouTube, all that good shit. Hearing Shad talk about the new guys, I'm really excited for this team, man. We have a really young team, really young offensive or just entire coaching staff, and I can't wait to see what they do, man. We're going to be a young, modern offensive team, and nothing like Urban Meyer or Doug Peterson or Doug Marone or God bless them, but any of the coaches we've had. Not a single coach we've had has been like this.
Doug Marone had a good run.
Oh, I'm not shitting on any. Excuse me. I'm not hating on any of the coaches right now. All I'm saying is we have not, I'm going back through the years now. We have not had a young guy take the reign ever.
Brian, reaction to Jack excited the upcoming Jaguars team and the modern offense that they might now deploy.
Yeah, I'm not. This is a celebration of football. I'm not going to get into the whole Trevor Lawrence thing.
Well,
I will.
I thought maybe you had some reaction there.
No. This is good vibes only podcast here. Even
That's fine. I'm not trying to instigate.
I'm ready to go 15 rounds, Brian.
I think we'll get back into it next year. But I've dried up all of my Trevor Lawrence ammo for this season. I admitted my wrong take to Matt about his team. So I will say to you, Jack, I was wrong about Brian Thomas Jr. I believe in the preseason I called him a Malik Neighbors double coverage merchant, and that's clearly not the case because he might be better than Malik Neighbors. So
you most definitely said that exact phrase, and I'm very glad that you brought that back up because I have not forgotten that.
Yeah, I'm willing to admit I was wrong. He's a very good player. We'll see if the new coaching staff can fix Trevor Lawrence to get him the ball. I had to get one last shot at it.
I think improve was the word you were looking for.
There we go. I'll change it to improve. Redact my statement. Improve Trevor Lawrence to get him the ball. But Brian Thomas Jr. is a very young, exciting player. And hopefully Tank Bigsby can become something because I want to see our Auburn Tigers shine.
War Eagle.
Yeah, BTJ definitely an electric year. Not that it wasn't expected, but I think the production that he put up definitely wasn't expected from a lot of people. He was not supposed to be on the level, if not better than Malik Neighbors, as Brian had to just kind of fumble out there. But yeah, I mean, electric year by BTJ. I can run through mine. You guys. And again, I'm not ripping on you guys, but I know not a lot of excitement of the football season. But I'm just letting you know. I mean, as a team who, what'd they go, 14-3 in the regular season, won 4 games in the playoffs? Is that where they had to go wild card divisional
Uh-huh.
AFC or NFC, and then the Super Bowl. So a lot of moments this year that stuck out to me, and I'm sure I missed some, but just some quick moments that stuck out to me, and again, really pertaining to um, the Philadelphia Eagles here. And I'm going to start it out with the Baldiani era. It is what changed the outlook of this season and this team, and it is the gimmick that propelled them to victory. Now, he didn't rock it the entire season. You didn't see him at the Super Bowl with a bald head. So the Baldiani era was early on. It helped right the ship, I guess you could call it, and get the team back on track. Um, Another favorite moment, funny moment, was when Brian and Jack called the Falcons the second best team in the NFC. Looking back on that, I was cracking up today, and I thought that was pretty hilarious
At
as
the time, they
well.
might have still been.
That
No,
was a
Brian.
Brian and Jack sat on this podcast and had the Falcons as the
Okay,
second
no.
best team in the
Here's a
NFC.
crazy
So that was
thing.
funny to look back in a
This
favorite moment of
season,
mine.
they were the only team to beat the Eagles when the Eagles were fully healthy.
Yeah, and on the road as
So
well.
maybe they are still the second best team in the NFC behind the Eagles.
Yeah, look,
Nah,
that
look,
was just a funny moment.
look. No, that's a great pull by Matt. Like, to be fair, the Falcons at the time did look like potentially the second best team in the NFC. But looking back on it now, seeing where that season finished for them, it looks fucking pathetic.
I mean,
Pathetic.
they tried to throw Michael Penix in there to save the season at the end of the year after they signed Kirk Cousins to a $90 million contract or whatever it was.
I mean, and this is after Kirk Cousins. I mean, and albeit he only did this against the Bucks, but he had like his best 2 games of the season against the division rival Bucks, who ended up winning their division, the NFC South. But he had between those 2 games like 800 passing yards and like 8 touchdowns.
Yeah. Also, Michael Penix did almost win that game, but then Jaden Daniels happened on that Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that was kind of the game where, went one way or the other way for the Falcons, right? If they won that, they're alive. They lose, and the rest is history. Not to drag this out, couple more here. I knew that one was going to be the biggest reaction because it's pretty funny and obviously included the both of you. But yeah, Saquon Barkley, his athleticism, and particularly the play of him jumping backwards over the Jaguar guy. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen a play quite like it before. Don't have to spend too much time on it, but Saquon Barkley as a whole and that particular play. Another favorite moment, sweeping the Dallas Cowboys, beat them at their place and beat them at home. Beat them at home big, or beat them in Philly big. I think it was 41-7. So that was a fun, just always good to go 2-0 against the Cowboys. Another big one was beating the Ravens in Baltimore. That's the game that I think put the entire NFL on notice of who the Philadelphia Eagles are and who they were about. I mean, they stuck it to the Ravens. They were an underdog in that game. The Ravens came in looking like, Lamar's on an MVP tear. This is the year the Ravens are going to go all the way. This is the year they're going to take down Patrick Mahomes. And the Eagles go in there, put an ass beating on them. Saquon Barkley has a huge day. And I think the league was put on notice in that game. Do you agree, Brian?
Yeah. Listen, looking back on the Eagles season, like there were so many big wins that kind of should have admitted the fact that they might go and win the Super Bowl, but I just didn't want to admit that.
Yeah, that's kind of it there. I just had the playoff run and then Super Bowl win. Obviously, how can that not be a favorite part? That's what we all strive for our teams to accomplish every year.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, the Eagles were obviously a very highlighted team this year. They were phenomenal all year. Made it to the Super Bowl, a lot of shining moments for them. So, as a NFL fan, I'll give them an honorable mention here. When AJ Brown was on the sidelines, cross-legged with that book, man, that sent the whole NFL into pandemonium about this damn book. And I don't know if you guys caught the pregame, Super Bowl pregame, like Kyle Brandt was doing this whole show with a couple other commentators. is this a Jalen Hurts quote or is this a quote from the A.J. Brown book? And that was honestly one of the funniest segments I think I've ever seen ESPN or whoever it was do. It was, Jalen Hurts going, you either win or you lose, or you either win or you learn.
Yeah,
And
I
the
mean,
guys
this
and the
guy.
guys are like, "Oh, that's a Jalen Hurts quote," or "No, that's a book quote from AJ Brown's book." And that was as an NFL fan, that book being introduced during this run, that was just another gimmick. Look, year of gimmicks, right? They
Yeah.
were able to send it over the top.
Yeah, that was in that first game against the Packers in that wild card round. I was at the game. Um, yeah, that's the playoff gimmick, maybe for sure. Baldiani was the turn the season around after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season gimmick, and then Saquon Barkley in himself could be a gimmick that carried them to the Super Bowl. But I just love that it like the Chiefs shut down Saquon Barkley and the Eagles still dominated that Super Bowl. So I just love that it really was a team effort and it wasn't like, oh, they got Saquon, that's why they're good. No, this is a complete football team.
Yeah, and this isn't not even I can't even describe it as my favorite moment, but it is a monumental moment in the history of this podcast, of this brand, and what I hope will be a big, long history with a lot of tallies on our very abundant scoreboard. Matt has knocked off the first one, the first championship of all three of our rooting interests.
Yeah, it's a great point, Brian. And I appreciate you pointing that out. I tried to shed light on it uh, last podcast in the open when I said, like, if we have three teams and there's 32, that's like a little over a 9% chance. And I know, based like the Giants did not have a 9% chance to win this year. Like, you know what I mean? But at least for the three of us and doing basic probability math, we got it done. Cash the 9%. So it's good stuff there.
Yeah, hopefully we'll talk about the Auburn Tigers in the next show, but hopefully they can tie the scoreboard up for me and Jack.
Double whammy weekend, right? Tigers go down at home and the Birds win the Super Bowl, dude. I mean, it's I wasn't too invested in that Auburn game, but not to get into it, but that, was shocked to see them go down at home. I know Florida's a good team, but to see Auburn go down at home like that, that was pretty big.
Yeah, to see Auburn lose and then the Eagles win, and knowing what this podcast could have been like. And Matt, I'll give you some credit. You are being a gracious winner right now. But to know what this could have been with an Eagles championship last night and an Auburn loss on Saturday, I almost didn't show up for work today. Not actually. I got more pride than that. But it would have been easy to call in sick, Brian.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself too.
And I got it all out in the last pod. This was just the "I told you so" episode. I have no reason to be crazy. The Eagles got it done. Jalen Hurts got it done. Everything I preached for that guy, he did the talking or he did the walking, whatever you want to say. So
He did do the walk.
He did the walk. So Hurts gets it done. Eagles are champs. And yeah. What now, Brian? What now?
Well, now I just have to live with the fact that the Eagles are champs and Saquon Barkley got a ring with the Philadelphia Eagles. But before we wrap up, I just want to get a little sentimental here and thank everybody for listening to us, whether you listen every podcast, every week, once a month, once a year, once a football season. But thank you for sticking with us for another. This was our second football season doing this. And I know we don't have as much content in the summer, but we do have a lot of fun with 4 and 400s and other segments throughout the summer. Matt's Phillies, my Mets. So if you've become a fan recently, stick around. And
Stick around.
You've been with us for the whole time. We appreciate you.
We should have some good baseball teams this year, so I think you want to stick around for the content.
Yeah, I hope we have some good baseball
I
teams.
hope we have good baseball teams. Knock on wood with that one.
Yeah, they released the spring training roster today officially, and I saw Juan Soto, and I was like, oh yeah, it's real. Juan Soto is in New York, Met.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. But yeah, to piggyback off Brian, thanks to all the viewers who watched us up in section 400 all year. We do wrap up the NFL season, the football season, and just stick with us. We'll keep growing. We'll keep going. We're at the Super Bowl next year with those credentials, right, Brian?
We'll have a booth on Radio Row. Full week of content next year.
I can't wait to do it. But for the last time of the 24-25 season, we have no more NFL games to react to until next year. I'm Matt, Jack, and Brian. It's Views from Section 400. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
It's baseball season. I hated that. Cut that.